The question of whether or not a business should be VAT registered can be a minefield for business owners. There are thresholds at which you must be VAT registered, but you can also choose to be VAT registered even if you're below those thresholds. So why would a business register for VAT voluntarily? Getting these matters wrong can be a costly mistake. Not being registered when you should can result in hefty fines from HMRC, whilst being registered when you don't need to can affect your competitiveness and your profits. In this video, I'll guide you through the minefield of VAT registration without getting technical, and by the end, you'll know exactly where you stand and what's right for you. Let's take it back to basics first, so we're all on the same page, and answer the question, what is VAT? VAT stands for Value Added Tax. It's a tax on many different goods and services and is collected by businesses on the sale of those goods and services, and then paid over to HMRC. There's a huge amount of rules and regulations surrounding VAT, and a lot of inconsistency. I've always felt that with most taxes, common sense usually prevails, but with VAT, the answer will always be the opposite of what your gut tells you. Fortunately, to talk about whether a business should be VAT registered or not, we don't need to get down into the nitty-gritty. We can keep away from most of the technical stuff. So let's start simple. When must you register for VAT? Well, if you're a UK-based business, then you must register under two circumstances. The most common is if at any time your total VAT taxable turnover for the last 12 months was over £85,000. This is called the VAT threshold, and it does change from time to time, so be wary of this if you're watching this video sometime after it was released in September 2023. You can always look up the current VAT threshold on HMRC's website. So what is your VAT taxable turnover? Well, it's the value of your business income, excluding any income that is either VAT exempt or outside the scope of VAT. So this means it will include all income that would be standard rated, reduced rated, or zero rated if your business was already VAT registered. Now, if you're asking, well, how do I know what income is standard, reduced, or zero rated? Then that's not so easy a question to answer in the short video. You can look up the VAT treatment of a lot of business supplies on HMRC's website to see where they might fall. But if you're in any doubt at all, I strongly recommend you speak to an accountant to be certain. At Cunningham's, this is something that we routinely advise on. A common mistake that people make with this registration condition is assuming that the 12 months it talks about are consecutive periods. That is, for example, January to December in year 1, and then January to December in year 2, and so on. This isn't correct, and many businesses have fallen foul of late registration penalties for thinking this. Those 12-month periods are any 12-month period. If your income is approaching the VAT threshold, you need to be checking this on a monthly basis. So checking your income from January to December, then February to January, then March to February, etc. A rolling 12-month period. The second condition that triggers compulsory VAT registration is simpler. If you expect your turnover to exceed £85,000, remember that's the VAT threshold, in the next 30 days alone, then you must register for VAT. So you've hit the threshold. What now? Well, you must send your registration form to HMRC. You can easily do this online. If you breach the rolling 12-month condition, let's call this month 1, then this must be sent within 30 days at the end of the month that you exceeded the threshold. That is, by the end of month 2, and you will be registered from the 1st of month 3. For example, if your turnover exceeded the VAT threshold in March, month 1, then you would have until the 30th of April, month 2, to send the registration to HMRC, and you will be registered from the 1st of May, month 3. If, on the other hand, you expected your turnover to exceed £85,000 in the next 30 days alone, then you have until the end of that 30-day period to register for VAT, and the date of your registration will be the date you realise that your turnover would exceed the threshold, that is, day 1 of those 30 days. There are a few other triggers for compulsory registration: non-UK businesses selling to the UK and taking over a business that is already VAT registered, but I won't go into these here as they are more specialist cases. So that's when you must register for VAT. But even if you don't have to register for VAT, you can still optionally choose to do so. This is called voluntary registration. But why would anyone voluntarily want to register for VAT? Well, a lot depends on your business, what you sell, and who your customers are. But first, it's worth considering why businesses wouldn't want to be VAT registered before we consider why they would. I think there are two big reasons why business owners dread being VAT registered. The first is that it's a whole other layer of regulation that small businesses often feel they could do without. In many cases, there is little benefit for the business of becoming VAT registered, and many small businesses quite legitimately resent having to effectively be an unpaid tax collector for HMRC. The other reason is that for many small businesses, becoming VAT registered means increasing their prices to account for the VAT they now have to charge. This can make them less competitive with smaller businesses that aren't VAT registered. In our years of experience as accountants, we see many businesses do struggle when they have income just above the VAT threshold, and it usually takes a significant increase in turnover before the potentially negative effect of that dissipates. To remain competitive, some small businesses feel they have to reduce their profit margins on becoming VAT registered. So now we know why many small businesses avoid becoming VAT registered if they can. Let's take a look at some common examples of when businesses might actually benefit from registering early, despite not having to. You'll see the most common examples actually address the two biggest reasons some businesses avoid VAT registration if they can. Zero-rated sales. If you're a business that sells goods or services which are zero-rated for VAT, that is, goods that are treated as though they have VAT on them, but at a rate of 0%, it can be advantageous to register for VAT early. As a VAT-registered trader, you will be able to reclaim VAT on the goods and services that you have bought, but because the supplies you make have 0% VAT on them, you don't need to pay anything to HMRC. You'll actually be receiving a refund from HMRC after every VAT return. In this circumstance, with the administration and red tape of VAT actually in your favour, it's typically a no-brainer to register the business for VAT voluntarily as early as possible in order to maximise refunds. VAT-registered customers. If all of your customers are VAT registered and can reclaim any VAT they are charged, then it doesn't matter to your customers whether they are VAT registered or not. The cost to them will be the same either way. In this case, there is no need to reduce your prices and therefore your profits, and registering for VAT means that you will be able to reclaim the VAT on the goods and services that you purchase, which has the potential to increase your profitability. In these circumstances, registering for VAT can be very worthwhile. Unfortunately, not every business can supply to exclusively VAT-registered customers. Any business supplying the general public, for example, who usually aren't able to reclaim the VAT that they pay, typically will only register for VAT when they absolutely have to. Finally, depending on the long-term goals of a business, some businesses will register for VAT early simply to add credibility to their fledgling business. As with operating a limited company compared to a sole trader, say, having a VAT number can suggest that your business is larger or more credible than one that does not. As I've said, VAT is a minefield, and I've tried to keep this as untechnical as possible. But sometimes you have to get technical to decide the right approach for you. That's why I always recommend speaking to a qualified accountant about your VAT position to make sure you make the right choices and avoid costly mistakes. At Cunningham's, we're always dealing with these kinds of queries, and I'm more than happy to help. If you've enjoyed this video or found it helpful, please don't forget to give us a thumbs up. It really helps us to understand what videos you enjoy so that we can plan more videos in the future. Not only that, it gives us a really warm feeling inside too. Also, if you're not already subscribed, then maybe it's about time you were. It's just a button click away to making sure you don't miss any of our videos in the future. I hope this video has given you a much better handle on the rules surrounding VAT registration, and you've got a good idea whether VAT registration is something you should be thinking about. Thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate all the feedback we get from our videos, and remember, sometimes just one thing is all it takes. See you on the next one.